All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might happen to be listening in from. It's Jay Handler and the Fight for Your Business Mastermind sessions. We do these sessions literally every day live on Zoom and simulcast or live streamed, whatever, over to the YouTubes. So if you want to join us, please check the description down below and you'll see the link that you can use to join us on Zoom so that you can be actually live in person with us, asking your questions and potentially helping answer some of the other questions. If you're just checking in for the first time on YouTube, do me a favor. Four things I need you to do. They're going to take you 30 seconds total. All right, super simple. Number one, obviously, I want you to subscribe to the channel, right? Make sure you subscribe so that you're getting this content on a regular basis. Number two, be sure and like, comment, and share on this if you find value. All right. I'm not asking you to do it blind, but when you're done, when we get to the end, or once you've decided this was valuable, give me the like, give me a comment, and share it out to your folks. You can share it through your social media, you can share it through your email, but don't just share it blindly. That doesn't help you a whole hell of a lot. Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you comment on the video. Tell people why they should watch it. Oh my gosh, you should watch it because, skip to this minute in the video. This was a really, really solid point you need to hear. Man, Jay's an idiot. Come help me blast him. Whatever it is, make your comment and share it out there. Four things: subscribe, like, comment, and share. Do those four things, and everything becomes super easy. It'll take you less than 30 seconds. So, with that said, the Fight for Your Business mastermind sessions are daily, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. That's New York time for those of you outside the US. And let's just get to it. We're talking this morning with our friend Linda Sunshine, who, Linda, I'll let you introduce yourself if you don't mind, and then we'll kind of examine what the challenge is, and let's just troubleshoot it right here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Sunshine West. I'm the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing. And sorry for not being on camera. Normally I would be, but I'm not presentable at all right now. So I have my challenge is, as I was sharing with Jay before we got started, and the challenge that I'm having is I've been in business for about 9 years. The first 7 years, I hardly made any money, and I don't know why I stayed in business, but it was just really my true grit of like, I got to do this, that kept me going. About 2 years ago, I found my niche, and that was book publishing. Once I found that niche, like we took off, like it was a crazy. We published 33 books in the last 25 months now. So we took off like crazy. However, here I am now at this place where money's not coming in. And it hasn't been coming in for, I shouldn't say, not that no money is coming in, but not enough money to sustain the business. And the sales pretty much came to pretty much a halt about 5 months ago. And it's interesting, Jay, because as I'm talking about it, realizing that I have a lot of confidence, but I think there's something that's happening with me in relation to confidence related to the business of sales, not the business, but the business of sales. So that's where I am right now.
So it makes perfect sense. Before we get into troubleshooting, let me just ask you this. You said you had published how many books over what period of time?
33 over the last 25 months.
And how many of those went to #1 status on Amazon?
100% of them.
Nice. Nice. Got to give you your props, right? I mean, I knew that number
Right.
already, or at least assumed that it had continued. But let's make sure people know you're not just, any old book publisher. I mean, you're doing some incredible things for your clients and for your business that people need to know about, right? So we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about red carpets here in a little bit. But before we get that far, let's talk about the issues, right? So 5 months ago, all of a sudden we went from a 60 to 65% closing ratio, I think you told me,
Yeah.
6 months ago, to 5 to 10% closing ratio now. Is that accurate?
Yes, if that. Sometimes it's, yeah, pretty low, lower than
Okay.
5%.
Listen, I get it. What has changed? I'd really like to go back to that 5 month mark, and I'd probably go back even a little bit further. Let's go back to like 6 months. Was there anything significant that happened personally, professionally, anything like that in your world?
Huh. I'm not, 6 months ago. I I can't remember anything specific.
Just keep the question in your head. And,
Yeah.
if something pops up, just, let's talk about what that issue might have meant to business production and everything else. Now, immediately when you start telling me that production goes down, right, that closing ratio goes down, I have to look at a couple things. So, number one, if your closing ratio dropped, is that because you're dealing with more leads, fewer leads, better leads, worse leads? So what's happened? You were just starting to talk a little bit before we started the live stream, but tell me a little bit about what's happened from a lead generation standpoint, because I think that's really going to be key here.
Okay. You know what? I think, thanks for, first of all, asking that other question, like what happened about 6 months ago. It really wasn't what happened about 6 months ago. It was about what happened about a year ago.
Huh?
So
Okay.
about a year ago, I hired somebody to get leads for us, and these were warm and or hot leads. These were people that I had already been in connection with, so they were reconnecting me with people I had already been in connection with, people from my email list. And when I started hopping on those, okay, this is so interesting. When I started hopping on those calls, that's when the closing ratio started to drop. So first I was about 65, 70%, and then I was getting down to like 40, 50, and then 30. So it was a gradual shift downward. But I think if I could tie it to anything, it would be hopping on those calls with those hot leads instead of the different like cold leads that I had been on before, which were buying from me. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm smiling ear to ear for a reason. You care to take a guess why I'm smiling ear to ear right now?
Because it's probably common.
It is common. Yeah, well, the situation you find yourself in is common. I don't really need to do much more diagnosis before prescribing, right? I mean, I know what happened here. I get it. Um, but I want to go through the process regardless because I want people to see what it looks like to kind of triage their business. First things first,
Oh, Jay,
kudos to you.
before you go there,
Yeah,
let me share something.
yeah,
Another realization I had about myself many, many years ago. I would rather speak to a group of 1,000 people that I don't know than to 10 people that I do know.
yeah. That's telling. That
Yeah.
that really is telling. That means something, right? I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to go, too deep into that with you. But there's some very specific stuff going on there that, if you talk to somebody, you might bring that up because I think that that'll lend some insight, right? You and I can do that privately. I'll give you my insights, tell you what I think that means. But I'll do that offline. I don't, we don't need to share that with the world necessarily. But here's the thing. You, first of all, you deserve a round of applause because you did notice that there was an issue, right? You saw a 65% closing ratio dropping and dropping and dropping. Now, the problem is that when you first noticed it is when you should have turned the bus around. That's when we should have asked for help. That's when we should have, reached out to somebody that you know, like, and trust that's been there before that can kind of help you figure out what's going on, right? Because once you get momentum going, it's really hard to stop. And when something, so here's your momentum, right? You're going, 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 growing, growing, growing. And then all of a sudden something happens. A wrench hits the system and you immediately turn down. And no matter what you do, you're still going down, 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 down. You're pressing harder, probably. I'm just guessing. You'll have to tell me if I'm right here or not, but you're probably in your presentation, whether you realized it or not. I hope you recorded them so you can go back and look. But in your presentation, I would suspect that you were gripping the bat too tight, right? When those numbers started dropping, you're like, okay, I got to save this. I got to turn this around. It's me. I have the power to do this. I got to be better. And so you went harder. Just a guess. Again, I haven't seen videos of what you did and what you're doing, but I've got to believe that that's almost certainly something that happened, which, by the way, is going to continue that downward spiral, right? So now we're nosediving into the ground. By the time we get to that lowest possible level where you're at right now, 5-10% closing, if that, you said sometimes, what that tells me is that, well, number one, there's nowhere to go but up, which is great, but we're also way behind the eight ball, if you will, on stopping this before the bleeding got so bad, right? So that's one thing I want to encourage all of you. When you see something in your business that's, man, it just doesn't feel right, it's not going to be this blatant, oh my God, everything has turned to shit. That's not what it's going to be. Instead, what you're going to find is this gnawing feeling just in your gut, in your chest, whatever, saying, something's just not the same. That's when it's time to pause and start looking at it. We talked yesterday and Thursday, actually, or Friday, I should say, about fear. Real fear versus real danger versus the perception of danger. Fear of loss, fear of success, imposter syndrome, all of those things. And in that conversation, we talked about lions. And, it's funny. I've never been like a huge, lions have never been my spirit animal, right? It's always been the rhinoceros for me. But lions have come up a lot lately. One of my favorite quotes, everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do lion shit. But what we're talking about specifically, as far as yesterday and on Friday, we were talking about the fact that the brain is designed to notice differences, to see something out of place, because that's one way that we're able to stay safe. The brain is the entire purpose of the brain is keep human alive. That's it. Keep my meat sack alive. That's my goal as my brain. That's it. That's what I got to do. And so we were born with this innate ability to notice differences, imperfections, tiny little things that take our focus elsewhere. And in some cases, it can absolutely, I mean, absolutely help you. In some cases, not as much. For example, let's go back to caveman times, right? Let's go back to Cro-Magnon man. Let's go back to, the first men, the first humans, first people walking on the planet. What did they have to be afraid of? It was really dangerous stuff, right? They had to be afraid of dramatic shifts in weather. They had to be afraid of wild animals and maybe even of other humans, from other groups or other tribes or whatever the case might be. But there were other things that they became afraid of. For example, when lightning struck, well, first of all, lightning and thunder was just this unbelievable. I have no idea what that is. So there was fear there. And then lightning would light a tree on fire and there'd be fire. And now we've learned the fear of fire. Is there anything to fear when it comes to fire? I mean, fire can be a great thing. Doesn't have to be bad. Sure, it can burn you. Yes, it's dangerous, but once you can control it, it's a different thing. We've gotten to the point now where we can control the fear. We can control the fire, but we still don't have control over the autonomous machinations, if you will, of the human brain. I told a story yesterday, and I'll just very, very short version of it because I want to get back to, I want to show you what this means and why I'm doing this with Linda. But I I told a story about being in Kenya, and we were, on a photo safari. We're in this old, passenger van, and we're tooling around all over the savannah. And at some point, I tell our guide, "Hey, can you stop the car? I see something." And it was just something out of my peripheral vision. I saw something that looked a little bit strange over here. The wind was blowing all of the reeds, all of the bushes kind of this way. But this one area, the bushes were kind of doing this. They were swaying back and forth slowly. And that, again, imperceptible, almost completely imperceptible, but my eye caught it because my brain was on high alert. Hey, listen, you've got to be looking out for whatever dangers exist. You've never been in Kenya before. You've never been in the Masai Mara. You've never seen a lion in the wild. You've never seen, I mean, so my brain is on high alert. It notices this otherwise imperceptible little change in the way the bushes or the brush is moving over there. And so I stop, I ask Tom to stop, and I focus on that area. And I just stared right there, watching as little by little, what I realized was the back and forth motion was because it was a massive male lion. And when he walks, he kind of sways back and forth a little bit. It's causing the brush to do the same thing. Now, fear? Okay, if I wasn't in that van, if I wasn't with Tom, if I wasn't on safari, if I wasn't a tourist, I probably would have been scared. If I was just a guy out on the middle of the savannah like that, and this lion starts walking straight towards me, there would have been a different level of fear. But in this case, I knew it was safe. So I was able to turn off the fear part and enjoy this experience. And I've got some great pictures that I shared yesterday, or well, Friday anyway. But the point of all of this is that the brain sees these little, nearly imperceptible things, and it's up to us then to interpret. It's up to us to figure out, okay, is this danger, or is this just perceived danger? Is this just my mind saying, hey, something different over there, take a look at it. Just make sure you're okay before you move forward. That's all it is. It's not the brain saying, oh my God, run, because the fear isn't real yet. It's just this perception of fear. Will it ever turn real or not? Who knows? It depends on what the situation is. But the exact same thing happens to you in your business. And the exact same thing happened to Linda, right? So she noticed that something was going on, something was different. And so she started to change. I'm guessing, right? But again, we haven't seen the videos, but I'm guessing that her presentation got a little bit more determined, a little bit, just a little bit. I don't want to say the word desperate, but just a little bit more desperate, right? Money wasn't coming in. I got to make up for the money that I lost when I didn't get those yeses before. I was getting 60, 65%. Now I've talked to 10 people. I don't have those six. I need to make up those six. How am I going to do it? So we start gripping the bat too tight. We start pressing too hard. What we need to be able to do is, instead of waiting until that lion is in full view to make the decision whether we're in trouble or not, we need to see it way back there. So we need to train ourselves when we see this pattern interrupt, when we see something different in the way things are working. We need to stop right there, just pause and go examine it and figure out, okay, is this a symptom, or is this the cause? Right? Is this the disease, or is this just a symptom of? Is this pain, or is this just a symptom of? Once we figure that out, now we can dive a little bit deeper and find out, okay, well, if I keep going down this path, I'm going to keep going on the path that I'm on. Something needs to change. So I've got to change direction a little bit. I got to do something different. But if what you do different didn't work, doing it even more isn't going to help you anymore. It's going to worsen the situation. It's going to deplete your opportunities. So here's Linda, this incredibly confident person who wasn't an incredibly confident person until 2 years ago, give or take, I'm guessing. I'm not guessing. I know she said it to me before. But we've gained all this confidence, and then all of a sudden something happens. And our confidence starts to wane. And it grows. It's not a, 1 + 1 = 2 kind of a thing. It's 1 no plus 1 no equals 3. We're making it worse in our head than it is because now we're struggling. Now we're gripping that bat too tightly. Now we're trying too hard. And so we're making it even worse. And so our performance continues to decline. So that's part of the troubleshooting mentality, right? We've got to figure out how to see changes and analyze them long before they become detrimental to us. If they didn't become detrimental, if they became wonderful, then great, fantastic. But why not know what's causing it so that we can amplify it or potentially mute it? And that's what needs to happen here. So, Linda, you went from closing 60, 65 to closing 5 or 10%. And it correlates, at least loosely, with hiring an appointment center to reach out and connect with all of these previous connections, people who already know, like, and trust you. They're already in your email database, and we're hitting them and we're going after them to get them on the calendar to talk to them about publishing their book. Somebody tell me why that didn't work. It would help if you know Linda pretty well. Anybody?
Can I chime in?
Come on, it's your story. Let's go.
I think I know why. As a recovering people pleaser, the people that I already know, I didn't make offers to them. If you don't make offers, you're not going to make any sales. And so what would happen is I would end up getting on calls with them and have a great time and then not make an offer. And so what I stopped, one of the things I stopped doing was to set an intention before I got on the call. That was one of the things. So that definitely is something that was different. And because they were my friends, I just either forgot to make an offer. I'd get off the call and I'd say, dang it, I forgot to make an offer. Or I'm like, wow, that was just an amazing conversation.
So when you were closing at 60 to 65%, you were making an offer. When you were closing at 5 to 10%, you were making fewer offers.
Mm-hmm.
Having more phone calls, making fewer offers.
Yeah.
All right.
So I
Well,
feel like the phone calls were being a waste of my time because I
right.
wasn't making sales, but I was having a good time. So it was kind of like, weighing those two things out. This is a business. I need to make money. And so they're a waste of my time. I got to stop doing them.
And which makes sense. And that's why we shy away. We walk away from. We say, you know what? This isn't going to make sense. I don't need to do this anymore. Okay, fine. But see, here's the problem. Number one, you didn't give those people a fair shot. So that 5 to 10% may be real, but only because we didn't make the offer. So let me
Mm.
ask you this. Of the folks that you actually made an offer to, let's take out everybody that you forgot to make the offer to or just failed to make the offer to. What would you guess? And I don't expect you to have these numbers offhand. Maybe you do. But of the ones that you actually presented an offer, what was your closing percentage there?
Yeah, probably back to that 60, 70%.
Really, that high?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
They're not always on the spot. So they might not buy that day, but they might buy like a week later. Like I had a call last week and she
sure,
bought yesterday.
that's perfect. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So we just found the problem just by talking about it for what, 20 minutes now, 25 minutes now. We found the problem.
And I have a note on my computer, by the way. It says make an offer every day.
Yeah.
Like I have that on my computer.
I want you to change that. Make an offer every time.
Okay.
Make an offer every time. Now, I mean, listen, you and I both know, we've talked about this at length. I don't want you working with people that you don't want to work with, right? Bad money is bad money. And you don't have to take deals just because, if somebody is not right for you, I still want you to be able to turn them away. And you don't necessarily need to make them an offer, but you have to decide. You have to make a conscious decision in call. Am I going to make an offer or not? Every single call, you have to make that decision. Am I going to make an offer or not? Every call. And I'm telling you right now, that potentially is going to fix the problem. Now, the other side of this is that you've gotten rid of some of your lead gen program now because, well, it's not working. I don't want to pay for it. I want to, whatever the case. So you've kind of, because you were going this way, you started dismantling, right? You kind of had to. I can't afford to pay for leads if I'm not converting them. Well, okay.
Mhm.
Would have been a lot better if we just made the offers and we would have kept the money coming and we could have increased our lead gen to make even more, but we pulled back. And that's usually, listen, going smaller is typically what every business owner is going to do when they're faced with this kind of a problem, right? Make it smaller, make it smaller, make it smaller. Ah, stop spending money, stop spending money. Okay. Except now your funnel is dry. So now, even if you do start making offers, you don't have enough people in the funnel to replace the money that you've lost, right? So we've got to kind of restart everything. I was going to say, when you were first explaining the situation to me, I was going to say that maybe the people on your email list are tired. Maybe they have, Linda fatigue. Maybe the reason that they're saying no or not saying yes is because you're talking to people who have already heard offers from you for as long as they've been in you do a great job of marketing. Your email marketing, your social media, your event, I mean, everything that you're doing, you're out there, you're very, very public, and you're explaining to people what you do every single time. You're making, they may not be good offers, right? But you are making a minor presentation all the time.
Mhm.
So my immediate thought was, well, there's where the break is, right? She's dealing with audience fatigue. They've heard everything they're going to hear from you. You're not going to get anything more out of them. It's why we left Clubhouse to come here. Because the entire audience there, everybody that was coming on a regular basis, and I mean, everybody already heard everything I had to say. They've heard about all of my different offers. They've purchased my different offers or decided I'm not going to. They've made their decision already. And no matter how many more times I talk to them, they're not going to get there. So we moved to a different platform. We're doing things a different way. And lead gen is certainly slow, but better than it was when we were on Clubhouse with 40 or 50 people in there. When you tell me, no, that wasn't the issue. It was, I wasn't making the offer. Well, again, game over. We've already diagnosed it. We figured out what the problem was. Especially when you go back and say that I was closing at that higher rate when I did make an offer.
Yep. This is very valuable, Jay. I appreciate it because, um, I've been asking myself these questions. Fortunately, have a very huge support, but nobody can answer my questions, right? I have to come up with the answers. And so sometimes, depending on the same question could have been asked last week, and I just didn't have the answer for it. I wasn't ready for the answer, I think,
There's two things. I mean, yeah, you're right. But it also has to do with how the question is posed, who it's asked by, and so forth. You scared me a little bit. You frighten me a little bit when you say, I've got this great support staff around me, but I've got to figure out the answers. I've got to come up with the solutions. Well, okay. You and I haven't talked in probably 3 months, give or take. And in 30 minutes, we've diagnosed the problem and you know exactly how to solve it. At least that part of it. There's another part. We've got to get back into the lead gen. We've got to get the funnel filling up again. But here in 30 minutes, we've addressed the problem. And you know exactly what you did wrong, and you know why you failed or were failing. Let's go there.
Yeah.
You know why your numbers were declining. If you had told me that of the folks that you made an offer to, you were closing at 30%, that would have been a different decision. Then we have to go into a different direction. Something else has changed. But if you're still closing at the same rate when you make the offer, then this is a simple process. And again, if you would have thought this through, if you would have gone through this progression, you'd have gotten there yourself. But how long would it have taken? How long has it taken? I mean, it's been months that you've been in struggle mode and don't need to be, right? I mean, at least 6 months ago, 5, 6 months anyway. One of the best lessons that I think any business owner can get is you don't, nor should you have all the answers. Nobody expects you to have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. Pick your favorite, most prolific business person in the world. Pick your favorite person, doesn't matter who it is. Do you think for 1 second they got where they are by themselves? Or do you think maybe they had tax experts and investment experts and business experts and legal experts and zoning experts and on and on and on surrounding them? Now, if you have those people around you and you don't call on them when things are going a little bit hinky, well, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for that decline. And it's going to continue until you reach out and ask for some help or until you stumble into the solution, which again, you're brilliant. It would have happened. You would have stumbled into the solution eventually. You would have gone this direction. But why did we wait 5 months when we knew 6 months ago that the crash had begun? So big, huge lesson here. Don't suffer in silence and don't feel like, I've got to figure this out. Ask for help. That's how you figure it out. You don't have to go through it by yourself. Case in point, I came up with an idea last night that I think is going to be a huge, huge moneymaker. I really do. I think it's going to be great. But it requires going in and editing these YouTube videos that we're creating today. I'm not an editor. I don't know a whole lot about video editing. And, I went on Fiverr just because it was 2 o'clock in the morning when I was doing this, right? Nobody else was awake. I couldn't talk to anybody else. But I went on Fiverr to see what they were asking for. And nobody is helping with this kind of editing at the length that we speak, right? So nobody's editing 2 hour long videos into, an hour and a half long videos. Nobody's doing that. So now, as I had to reach out and look, because I'm not going to do it myself, it would take me months. The question is, do I know anybody who can do that, who can take that video podcast, that 2 hours, chop it up, make it look better, put some graphics to it, put some color, put some, whatever. I mean, and really, truly be an editor, a video editor for my YouTube product. Well, I'm not going to wait on that. I'm not going to learn it myself. And I'm not going to sit back and wait until I bump into somebody. I am proactively looking for that person. And I'm asking each and every one of you who are listening to this, if you know that person, reach out to me. If you don't know me, if you're watching on YouTube and we haven't met and you don't have my contact information, just go to any social media outlet and type in @JayHandler. JayHandler, and you'll find me. Reach out, shoot me a message and tell me, hey, I got a guy. I am the guy. I know who, I've got somebody, you're going to love her. But I've got to ask for the help. Because if I don't, then this idea of mine is never going to get off the ground because it requires editing. It requires that these videos become more than just educational videos. There's got to be some sales in them. There has to be an offer in them, right? And that's going to take a seasoned, experienced video editor. I'll find him. I'll find her. But that's what it's going to take. The reality is that when these issues come up, the closer we can get to the origin, the more likely it is that we're going to find a better solution. The faster it will likely be to get us to solution and resolve. Keep doing it, be consistent, and the money is going to come and be right back where it was. So let's talk lead gen for a second, because you again, going back to Linda, you cut off, I don't know if it was all, you said you stopped all the marketing. So I'm not sure what you're doing for lead gen right now, if anything, but what are you doing?
Well, that was months ago when I cut it off. I didn't keep it cut off. Uh,
Oh,
I I have calls, like I had 3 calls yesterday. I had 2 calls today. So I do have calls scheduled. I realized that I couldn't just cut it all off,
good.
But at that point, I was at that, you get to that point where you're like, I just got to stop the bleeding. And the bleeding was that my confidence was dropping and dropping and dropping after every call. And that I had to stop that so I could rebuild, come back up in that foundation. So you were mentioning the like the red carpet stuff. By doing, putting myself out there and getting in front of celebrities, this has been part of my building of my confidence. And it's been incredible what it's done for me. And so I am getting on calls. I have a lot of calls scheduled, which is awesome. And from this point forward, I will make an offer every time instead of every day. So that right there was, that was big. And even if it's not a call that's a like a discovery call, for example, I'm being interviewed in a little bit, and for that interview I'm going to make an offer to that person.
Hell yeah.
Even though they're interviewing me, I'm going to make an offer to them.
I love that. And I hope you're going to do it during the interview so that the audience can hear it too.
Actually, the type of interview that it is, I will be able to do that. So this
Awesome.
particular one.
Fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I'm thrilled that you didn't completely destroy yourself, or
No.
hamstring the business long term by turning off the spigot. Right? We've got to keep the leads flowing. Leads are the lifeblood of the business. If you don't have leads, I promise you, your business is dying. Right? The leads are the food that your business eats. And if you don't feed your business, you're going to watch it crumble. So I'm glad that you only did that for a while. I'm glad that you've got leads in the funnel. It means that you're going to be able to fix this incredibly quickly now. Because again, when you make an offer, you close 60, 6 out of 10. When you don't make an offer, you close 0 out of 10. I mean, it's simple enough. What's really remarkable here, even though the solution is now blatantly obvious, even though the response, the answer to the problem is super, super obvious now, it wasn't before. I want you to understand that the reason it wasn't before is because it's your business and you've got blinders on. You are so dedicated, and this is all of you guys. I'm not talking about Linda necessarily. You are so dedicated to serving the client that serving you kind of goes by the wayside. And I'll tell you something, you want to talk about lions. I said earlier, everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do lion shit. Well, here's some big time lion shit for you. You ready? You want to be the big dog. You want to be the king of the jungle. You want to be that leader. You must prioritize your most important client. You have to prioritize your most important client. And at the end of the day, there's only one client that fits the parameters. It's your business. You have got to treat your business just like you would any other customer. Actually, that's not true. Better than you would any other customer. It's the one business that you spend the most time with. It's the one that brings you the most money, right? Because 100% of your money comes from you going out there and doing business. The clients are big, but I mean, again, the clients are worthless if you're not going out and getting them. They don't exist if you don't go out and get them. So we have got to do whatever it takes to avoid this incredibly dangerous, I call it the cobbler syndrome, right? Everybody's heard the old, what is it? The old phrase, whatever, the old saying.
The
You know,
cobbler's children have no shoes.
the cobbler's children have no shoes. Cobbler's making shoes for everybody else, doesn't have time to make them for himself, for his family. How sad is that? You know, that doesn't make any sense. Let's make sure that we have shoes first. Because if we don't have shoes, we can't go out in the snow. And we're just stuck. We can help the people that are there, but that's it. That's all we can do. And the business isn't going to thrive if you're not treating it with that kind of respect. So, you know, I tell everybody, look, you know, I operate personally with a lot of manila folders, right? For me, when I have a client, that client has a manila folder. I put them into my CRM. I start nurturing them. I start marketing to them. I do all the things that a business owner needs to do, but they're all kept in the CRM, but also in my little file. The thickest file I have, the thickest file you should have, is on your own business. There was a study done, and I'm not going to remember the exact numbers, so don't hold me to numbers. Okay, just understand I'm talking about dichotomy. Okay, huge difference here. But the average American spends more time planning their annual vacation than they do their own retirement. Think about that. The average American spends more time per year focused on where they're going to go for fun, for vacation, than on how they're going to live for the next 30 years after retirement. Makes no sense at all. But again, that's because people don't put themselves first. People don't pay themselves first. I would recommend a book to literally everybody that's watching this, whether you're watching on Zoom or YouTube. I would recommend that you find a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's by George Clason, Classon, I believe. But The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the main tenets of this book. I mean, it's really well written. It's a great book. But one of the most important things in there is that you must pay yourself first. You know, you have to put 10% minimum away to work for you. You've got to put your coins to work for you. Your money, your cash, you've got to put it to work for you. You're not going to do that if you don't treat yourself like your most important client. You're just not. Learn to live on 90% of your revenue. Put the other 10% towards something that's going to make you more money. Investing in something that's going to make you more money. Ask for help. Find the answers. And then take the actions. If you listen to this and you're sitting there telling yourself, you know what, I've never thought about myself as my own client before like that. Man, that's interesting. Stop what you're doing. Go get a manila folder or whatever it's going to take and create this new client of yours. Congratulations on your best new client. It's the biggest client, the best client you'll ever have. Now start treating them that way. If you don't do that, if you walk away from this agreeing with me and don't do it, that's on you. That's just foolish. But learn lessons and make sure that they're ingrained, make sure that they're instilled long term, right? Again, hearing something is great. Hearing something and writing it down is better. Hearing something, thinking that it's going to work for you and writing it down is even better than that. And we can keep going. But the best is action. Nothing happens until somebody puts it into action. All the education in the world is worthless if you don't use it. Really, really, really important. Linda, you're presentable. Look at you.
Ready for my interview.
Nice. Nice. I hope this helps. I mean, again, I know that we went way longer than we needed to on this. We had this problem solved 30 minutes ago, but I appreciate you letting me continue to pick on it a little bit because I really think that Khaled, that Nikolai, that Lorenzo, that Tracy, that Kristen, that Charles, that I needed to hear the rest, needed to hear the extension. So I appreciate you letting me play with that a little bit.
But let me ask you a question, Jay. You mentioned the book, the King of Babylon. Is that what it's called?
The richest man in Babylon.
Richest Man in Babylon. Did that book transform your life in any way?
Oh, huge.
Okay. Well,
Huge.
I want to share with you something. We're working on a book called The Book I Read, and the book where you read is a book that transformed your life. And in that book, we're not looking for a book report or a book review. What we're looking is for the transformation that you received from reading that book. And I would love to invite you to take part in that book.
There you go.
Would you like to hop on a call and talk about it?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yes.
See how I made an offer, everybody?
There you go. There you go. Listen, it's the difference between wild success and average results. And average results might be generous. You might not get any results if you're not taking actions, if you're not doing something.
I want to share something that just came to mind there is, Forbes Riley. A lot of us know Forbes Riley, and Forbes Riley literally makes an offer every time I talk to her. There's always an offer of some sort, whether it's to join her in something, whether it's to pay something, it's to free something. There's always an offer going on. And so it's kind of interesting that she popped into my head right now because she's a great one to like emulate in that way too. And then it's just us knowing what our offers are. And that's where I'm stuck right now, Jay, I think, is I don't have a list of all my different offers. And so one of the first things I'm going to do today is to make a list so that it's always in front of me. When I'm talking to somebody, I know what offer is the best for them.
I love that. I love that. Listen, you have to understand who your ideal customer is and be able to create offers that are going to be absolute no-brainers to them. I'm trying to remember, Kristen, Tracy, Lorenzo, one of you help me out here because I'm struggling with remembering the context here. But I run, for those of you that don't know, I have a group coaching program called the Acceleration Academy. And it's more of a hybrid really than a group coaching program. There's recorded content, there's live group conversation, there's one-on-one conversation. But guys, I was talking in the academy, I believe. I don't remember if it was Tuesday or maybe last week, Thursday, but somebody mentioned that they were putting themselves out there more, and all of a sudden, wild, cool things were happening. That they were mentioning themselves, or they were talking about. I cannot for the life.
It was Thomas.
It was Thomas. Yeah. Well, what? Tell me more.
Yeah, it was Thomas. So he.
Hang on 1 second. Linda, thank you so much. I know you got to go to your interview, but thank you. I love you. Come back and see us, and let me know how it goes.
Thank you so much. Everybody have an amazing day.
You too, Linda.
Thanks, Linda. All right, Kristen, remind me of the Thomas story. That's exactly who it was.
He felt led to go out to. We went to farmers markets. Is it?
Yeah.
You have it? Okay.
Yep. So what was going on? Thomas has a marketing agency, and he works with a bunch of different clients, one of who is like a tea brand, like, tea that you sip. And he goes to farmers markets to present on their behalf, to host their booth and things along those lines. And one of the things that Thomas was talking about was that he was thankful that God put him in a place where all of a sudden people are just kind of talking to him, just coming up to him and becoming clients. And I said to him, look, please don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to downplay the role of spirituality here. I'm not trying to comment on your faith, but you need to understand something. Even I know somebody who wasn't raised from in a faith-based home. Even I know that, the Bible says, that he helps those who help themselves. I said, what are you doing during the day when the booth is slow, when there's no customers, or when there's a second person there and there don't need to be two people there? What are you doing? And he said, I'm walking stall to stall. I'm introducing myself to other people. I'm telling them about what I'm doing with, the tea company. I tell them what I'm doing with my branding company, my marketing company. I tell them what I'm doing in social media management. And some of them are asking me to help them. Like, Thomas, you're doing lead gen. You're out there talking to people. If you don't tell people what you do, if you don't tell them how you can help them, if you don't support what they do and talk about how you support it, why would they ever buy from you? If you never make an offer, how is anybody ever going to buy from you? If you stay in your booth and you never talk to anybody else, how is anybody going to know that you're doing more than just selling tea? And Thomas was a phenomenal example. And thank you for remembering that, Kristen. But Thomas was a great example of somebody that, internalized what we were talking about, but didn't give himself any credit for it. He was doing what he needed to do. He was doing the right thing. He was out there being vocal, being visible. Visibility leads to credibility. Credibility leads to profitability. If you're not visible, how are you going to be credible? If you're not credible, how are you going to sell? Thomas solved it all by being personal, by going booth to booth and introducing himself to the folks that were there, the vendors. And several of them have signed on to his agency. Think about this. How many of you, a rhetorical question, I don't need an answer, but how many of you are not making an offer every day? How many of you are not making an offer every week? How many of you are not talking about your business, talking about the problem you solve, talking to people who have the problem that you solve? These are all mainstays of lead gen. You have to do these things. You have to understand your audience. You have to understand what problem they have. You have to understand how your solution, how your product or service solves that problem for them. And you've got to be vocal. You've got to be talking about it, because people have the problem that you solve and don't even know it. And so they're not going to tell you, oh, I have that problem, help me solve it. They don't realize they have the problem. Lions don't wait. Lions don't sit back and wait. They go. They attack. It's just what they do. When they make a decision, they go. And the whole tribe goes with them, because everybody trusts the leader, because they've seen the leader be successful over and over and over again. And if we're going to be successful, if we're going to make a kill tonight, we're going to have to follow her advice, her example. If you want to be successful in business, if you want to be successful in life, figure out the problem you solve and talk to as many people as possible to see if they have that problem or not. You can niche down so that you're not talking to people who you know are highly unlikely to have your problem, right? If I'm solving menopause, okay, I'm solving issues that go along with menopause. Me talking to Charles isn't going to sell a doggone thing. Me talking to Nikolai isn't going to sell anything. We need to be talking to people who are suffering from it, or doctors who treat women who are suffering from it, or counselors who are treating women who are suffering from it, or influencers who are influencing women who suffer from it. That's when it makes sense. That's when we're making money. when we're talking to the person that can't possibly buy from us, we're wasting time. Maybe it's practice. Okay. Maybe you get that out of it. But they can't or won't buy from you. Or if they do, they're a horrible client. You don't want that client. That's bad money. I would much rather that you save yourself, your time on your calendar, your capacity for somebody that's actually going to benefit from your services than just taking bad money deals because somebody offered you some cash. I know it's hard to turn down cash when you need cash. I get that. And I'm not going to try and pretend that I understand how this works. But I know for an absolute fact, and I'd love to hear you guys, I'd love to hear your opinions on this, but I know for an absolute fact that when I turn down a bad money deal, there's a good money deal coming right behind it. The universe, or whatever else you want to attribute it to, I get rewarded when I turn down a bad deal. Another deal just happens to pop up out of nowhere. And it's way better than the deal that I gave up. I would rather that you sit with an empty spot on your calendar waiting for that right deal than to take a bad deal or two bad deals because you're struggling, because you're broke, because you don't have any choice in the matter. You do have a choice. Anyway, let's hear from you guys. Thoughts, ideas, concerns, questions, comments, you name it. Nobody. Ooh, okay. We'll keep going. By the way, it is the top of the hour. So just a real quick reset on where we're at, and then Colin will come right to you after that. Kristen, if you are available to go to YouTube and check on the live and just make sure that it's running, see if there are any questions over there.
Absolutely. I'll go look.
That would be awesome. I'd appreciate it. You don't have to leave here, but you can.
What is a link to get over there?
Well, that's a great question. Hang on one second, and I will grab that for you. All right. Whoops. So good morning. Hear myself. All right. So let's go here, and let's go to the chat, and we'll put it in there. There you go. So there's the YouTube. It should be live, and hopefully, if there's anybody over there watching right now live, if they have any questions, I want to make sure that somebody's over there paying attention and can bring those questions to us. Colin, go right ahead. I'll do the reset later.
I just have a question about marketing. In the past, I was hating marketing because some people was using it in the wrong way. So I hate it. But after that, I was think it's a tool. You can use it like that or like that. I want to love marketing. I want to learn marketing. So do you recommend to me someone I follow is specifically in marketing?
Well, I would be lying if I didn't mention me, right? I mean, that's what I do. But I mean, there are tons of phenomenal marketing coaches, influencers, all that out, in the world. You know, I don't know how to answer the question directly as far as, give me a list of 2 or 3 people, because just because they resonate with me doesn't mean that they're going to resonate with you. You're going to have to find your own group, but it's easy enough to do. Go to your social media platform of choice and just type in marketing expert, hashtag marketing expert, hashtag marketing tips. And you'll see people who are using that hashtag. And if they're giving marketing tips, chances are they're influencers at some level in the marketing space. But let me make marketing super simple for you, because everybody, not everybody, a lot of people struggle with marketing. What is it? How do I do it? How do I do it better? And I'm just going to tell you right now, there's one key. There's one key to marketing. That if you master this one thing, you will be a fantastic marketer. You could become great if you know some other things. But this one thing is going to make massive amounts of difference. This is the 80% right here. This is one of those 20% things that adds 80% to our business. Anybody want to take a guess? You guys are quiet today. All right, cool. I'll do it for you. The one thing, the most impactful thing you can do if you want to become a great marketer is understand your market. Plain and simple. You have to know your market. You have to understand who that ideal customer is. Right? Without that, you're dead in the water. You're absolutely dead in the water. You cannot market to people if you don't understand them. If you understand them, you can't not market to them well. Think about this for a second. You walk into a room. There's only one person in the room, but you are expected to talk about your business. You walk into the room and it's your number one prospect, the one person you want most to buy your product or service. I want you just for a second, imagine that conversation. Imagine the language you're using. Imagine the tone you're using. And then I want you to teleport him out of the office for a second, out of that room. And somebody else walks in the room. This time it's your grandmother. Now I want you to do the same thing. I want you to imagine that conversation. I want you to think about the language you use, the tone you use, the speed you speak at. Dramatically different, right? And you don't even need to think about it. It's just automatic. You immediately default to grandma mode when grandma's in the room. Right? Who here has gone off on an ugly curse-filled rant in front of the grandmother? Anybody? It's real hard to do. It's real hard to do because, again, we're just trained in our brain. We know. We have to talk differently around this person. We want to talk differently around this person. When you know your ideal customer as well as you know your grandmother, when you know that what you're saying is the right thing to say to this person, that's when you know marketing. You're going to know what works for them and what doesn't. You know what works for your grandmother and what doesn't. You know what you can say to her to get what you want and what you can't say. You know how to work around her. I'm not trying to, say manipulate. I mean, it's your grandmother, for God's sakes. But at the same time, at a certain age, don't our grandparents get to a point where they're just a little more difficult to live with, a little bit more difficult to deal with, to talk to, for whatever reason? But we adapt, and it's automatic. We adapt automatically, quickly. For anybody who has kids, you know that certain kids respond one way, certain kids respond to something completely different. And if you've got more than one kid, they may be on completely different ends of that spectrum. You just have to know them well enough to be able to interact with them in the right way, in an effective way, engage them. I'm going to take Linda's example here because she's right. We need to make offers. We need to make offers more frequently. So I'm going to make an offer that's not even ready to be made. How you like that? I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek at something if you're interested. All right. This is for anybody on YouTube, anybody on Zoom, doesn't matter. You can share this with your friends and they can take advantage of it. That's fine too. You're going to need to reach out to me because I don't have the landing page up yet. That's the one thing that's missing right now. But because we're talking about it and because we're talking about taking advantage of your opportunities and speaking about solving the problem, if you want to be the best marketer you can, I want you to go to any social media platform that you're on, find me at Jay Handler, Jay, just like it's right there on the screen, Jayhandler. And I want you to send me a private message, a direct message. And all you need to write is the letters ICP. ICP. You can write me longer than that if you'd like to. I'd love to talk with you. But if you just mention ICP, that is Ideal Customer Profile, I will offer you guys, and again, you know, I'll if you mention that you saw it here, if you DM me and mention that, you know, this is where you heard the offer on YouTube or on Zoom, I'm going to give it to you at 50% off. It's on my website. Well, I shouldn't say that because the landing page has to be redone, but it will be on the website for $199. It's a workbook. It's an 8-chapter workbook with 166, I think, different things that you need to know about your customers or can know about your prospects. And there's little tips on ways that you can find them and how to utilize them. But instead of asking for $199, again, because we're doing this today, because we're talking about offers, we're talking about putting yourself out there, I would be more than happy to offer it at 99 bucks. Anybody who wants one, by all means, feel free, shoot me a DM and let me know, and I will gladly deliver one to your inbox digitally for 99 bucks. And you'll be able to start immediately dissecting your audience so that you know them, not just their age, their gender, their geography. That's important stuff, but it's the thumbnail. That's nothing. That's a tip of the iceberg. Instead, I want you to focus on the demographics, the sociographics, the psychographics, their wants, their needs, their fears, their buying behaviors and patterns. What influences them? All of these different things that are going to really make it impossible not to know who your audience is. And once you know them, once you know these details about them, once you understand them, once you understand what makes them tick, how their brain works, why they think certain things, why they do certain things, which you'll get from the ICP workbook, then you can't help but be an expert marketer. You can't help it. You know too much. It would be foolish to do something that you know they wouldn't like, they wouldn't appreciate, wouldn't resonate with them. 80% or more of marketing, as far as I'm concerned, 80% or more is knowing your audience. It just is. Without that, you're sunk. If all you know about your audience is, well, they're men or they're women, they're 35 to 55 years old, they like sports. Okay, fantastic. That's everybody. I mean, that's millions and millions and millions of people. How are you possibly going to be able to speak to them in a way that they're engaged with you if that's all you understand about them? When I was still working in radio, sales management for corporate radio all across the US, I did that for about 15 years total time. When I was doing it, one of my last stops, well, actually my last stop in radio was right here in Greenville, South Carolina. And I was brought in to be the senior account manager and automotive marketing specialist for Cox Radio here in Greenville. That was 2 radio stations, 107.3 Jams and Hot 98.1. Both of those audiences were predominantly female. Jams was older than Hot 98.1. Hot 98.1 was more of the current, hip hop type stuff, and Jams was more of that old school R&B. I would have advertisers, agencies come to me and say that they're looking to reach adults 25 to 54. All right, that's a demographic. Adults 25 to 54 years of age. That's a demo. And it's one of the most commonly asked for demos in marketing. It's so dumb. I mean, think about this for a second. Adults, men and women, between 25 and 55. What on earth does a 25-year-old woman have in common with a 55-year-old man except for his wallet? There's nothing else there. How are we going to build
Jay will be back in 1 second. There's something with the internet at his place that crashes every day about this time. And so there's a moment's pause and then he comes back. So he will be back in just a moment.
You have internet problem in your country?
Do what?
Do you have internet problems in your country?
Um,
Uh,
not by rule, but you know, there in various places, I guess that there are internet issues that happen. It's not particularly common, but it does happen. I'm not
have,
sure why.
yeah. We have a lot here in Egypt. A
Do
lot of
you?
network problems. Yes.
Yeah, I know that in some countries they do. Jay, I was just explaining that there's internet issues that, you know, every day around a certain time it goes down.
Great. How is your business? Doing well?
You know what? It's starting. It's just getting off the ground right now. I don't know if you heard me, Jay. I was just explaining that there's internet issues going on.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why it's happening. I need to find an expert and get this resolved. But for some reason, at roughly 12:20 every day, my internet drops out. Something's going on. I just can't figure out what it is. But anyway, hopefully we're still live on YouTube. I suspect that it disconnected and reconnected, so I'll have to do a part 1 and a part 2 again, like I did yesterday, but so be it. The point in all of this, guys, is that if you truly understand who you're talking to, it's super simple to be engaging, to be effective, efficient in your conversation. If you don't understand somebody, then you're either guessing, which means you're going to be wrong 80% of the time, or you're talking to the wrong people, or you're talking to them at the wrong time, or. Think of all of the different possibilities. They're just so vast. We need to eliminate as many of them as possible so that we can be as engaging as possible, as efficient as possible. I am. Good deal. Good deal. Is it continuous? Does it look like it's continuous, or is it all
I can't tell because I just looked and
no worries.
I saw you there, but I couldn't tell if it was continuous or not.
Okay, no worries. Bottom line, it is the secret. It's the worst kept secret in the world. If you want to be a great marketer, you must be great at identifying your market. Simple as that. I use this example quite a bit, but most of you, at least everybody on this call anyway, knows that I'm a super fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, American football. Have been since 1986, so don't try calling me bandwagon and all that nonsense, right? I mean, I go back to Christian Okoye, so keep that stuff to yourself. But as a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, it would be an unbelievable boost to my ego to advertise in their home stadium, Arrowhead. It would be amazing to see my name, my offer, my face on digital signage all over that arena. But ego aside, how many people that are coming into that stadium? There's what, 76, I think, 76,000 people in there for 9 Sundays a year. What is the likelihood that that's my client? Even if it was my client, what's the likelihood they're paying attention to any of that when they're watching an NFL game that they paid hundreds of dollars to come watch? It's a horrible idea. And, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Linda who said earlier, maybe it was Kristen. Nah, I don't remember. Somebody earlier in part 1 of this conversation said, I'd rather talk to, it was Linda. I'd rather talk to, 1,000 people I don't know than 100 people I do know. I wanted to correct her because that is just so ass backwards. But if that's where she's comfortable, okay. I let it go. But here's the reality. What she was talking about is a comfort level, a confidence level. She wasn't talking about efficiency, effectiveness, closing ratios. She wasn't talking about marketing. She was talking about her as an individual feeling comfortable. I'd rather talk to 1,000 new people than 100 people that I know. Okay. I would rather market to 670 people who I know are my absolute best target market than 67,000 people at Arrowhead Stadium that might or might not be, but certainly aren't paying attention to me. 1%? Sure, no problem. Oh, but Jay, you can't, I can't cut myself out that way. I mean, I can't, there are millions of people that need to buy from me. Okay, so let me ask you this. If 1 million people bought from you, could you handle that volume? If 1 million sales came over, let's break it down. Let's say it took a year. Let's do the math on that because I just don't know the math. I don't know that I've ever done that one before. But let's do the math. We're going to do, what did we say? 365 days. Whoops, we're going to break down 1 million clients over 365 days. That's 2,700 clients a day coming in. All right, forget that. If you had 2,700 clients come in, forget 1 million. If you had 2,700 clients, could you keep up? If you had 274 clients, could you keep up? If you had 27 clients, could you keep up? Most business owners never do this math, never realize that they don't need 1 million clients to become wealthy. And neither do you. Grab your calculators. And for those of you that are here on Zoom with me live, I apologize. You guys have all done this with me 20 times. But I'm going to do it again anyway because somebody's going to get this on YouTube and they're going to need it. But grab your calculator. And I want you to put in a number, not just any old random number. I want you to think of your best month ever. How much money did you make your best month ever? Put that in the calculator and then add 20%. It's easy, just push plus 20 on the percent side equals. I want to show you how to get 20% better than even your best month ever. All right? So I'm going to make this really hard. Set the bar high. Now, whatever that number is, doesn't really matter. Whatever that number is, we need to figure out how to get there. So now here's my next question to you. I want you to think about your business for a second. And I know you might have different, multiple products, multiple services. I don't know. Doesn't matter. On average, how much money is a client going to spend with you every month or in the month that they spend with you? If you got a new client right now, how much are they going to be spending with you in the month, per month, total, whatever? Okay. What is the average ticket that you're selling right now? Whatever that number is, just come to a number, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly accurate. Come to the number that's in your head and divide the big number by this new number. So we took our best month ever. We added 20%. We hit equals. Now we're going to divide that number by the average ticket sale, the average consumer sale, and hit equals. Anybody want to throw out what their number came to? For those of you that actually did it this time? Accelerators, anybody? All right.
Jay, sorry, my internet was going in and out, and I missed part of what you did. So I don't even know where we're at.
Your best month ever plus 20% equals divided by your average ticket equals whatever
I
that
need
number
to
is.
pull,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I need to pull up my calculator.
Yeah. Everybody, pull up your calculator and do it. What are your numbers? What you're going to find is that you need far fewer than you ever thought you needed. You don't need 1 million clients. You don't need 1,000 clients. You don't need 100 clients. In fact, most of you are probably going to be okay with 10 regular clients, maybe less. If the number that you end up with scares you, oh man, how am I ever going to get that many clients? Every month I've got to have that many clients? All right. Maybe we can create something that is recurring so that you don't have to replace it every month, right? So that some of that is coming in organically every single month because you sold it to them 6 months ago. But either way, if you don't like that number, if that number scares you, we're going to have to make that number smaller. How do we do it? There's 2 ways. One is unacceptable, and that is changing our goal number. We are not lowering our goal below 120% of our best month ever. We're not. What we can do, though, what we must do if our number is too high, is we've got to elevate that average customer ticket. So we've got to find ways to raise your rates, lower your expenses. We've got to find ways to incorporate more products, more services, package things together better, make multiple offers, bump offers, and all these other things to get those prices up. Dummy prices, and all of these other things. If we can raise that number, then the number of customers we need continues to drop. And you just need to keep doing that until you get to the place where wow, 5? That's all I need. I need 8. I need 8 regular customers in my one-on-one coaching program. Forget about the academy. Forget about all the other programs that I offer. Forget about the Holy Grail, my AI prompt that basically puts me in your pocket. Forget about all that stuff. Forget about the ideal customer profile workbook. As good as it is, forget about it. Just 8 clients in my one-on-one program does exactly that. It makes me 20% more than I've made in any month.
Hey, Jay.
My goals. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, so best month times 20% divided by what?
No, almost. So best month plus 20%
Okay.
equals,
Divided by.
and then divided by average ticket.
Okay.
And what you're going to find, again, most of you, I think, are going to find that you don't need thousands. You just don't. You need 10, 20, maybe. All right. If you're selling something that's a little bit more affordable, if you're selling something that's a little bit lower end, maybe you need a few more than that, right? If you're selling a SaaS product like Charles does, right? He may need more clients than that. But I'm telling you right now, 80% of you are going to need 10 clients or less. Kristen, what'd you come up with? Did you do the rest of the math?
Yeah, I need 3.6 clients.
3.6 clients a month gets you your number. 1 sale a week or recurring revenue.
Right.
Either way. So if you got somebody to pay you that average ticket, how much is the average ticket? Nah, don't tell me that, because that's gonna tell us more numbers than we need to know. Tell me anyway.
Okay, so I adjusted the average ticket because there's no, okay, so my average ticket I'm saying is 1,000.
Okay. So at 1,000, when Kristen has 4 clients, she's making 20% more than she's ever made before. with 4 clients.
Okay, you know what? Okay. Sorry.
We did the numbers wrong, right?
I'm so wrong.
We did the numbers wrong.
Sorry, I'm a bad example today.
That's all right. So let's do it one more time, because I want to get this right. If you made the mistake somebody else did, because you've done this with me before, right? So if you made the mistake somebody else did too, because I explained it poorly. So let's do it one more time. The best month you've ever had in business. Put that in the calculator. Hit plus 20, or just plus 20%. And you should have a pretty healthy number, right? We're going to
10
add
clients.
You need how many?
10.
10. There you go. There you go. Add 20%, hit the equal sign, and then divide by the average ticket your customer is going to spend with you. Now we know that with 10, Kristen's going to make her money. Kristen's going to make $120,000. How do I know that? Well, because she said her average ticket's $1,000. She said she needs 10 clients. I mean, we can do the math here. Kristen's going to make the money with just 10 clients. Now, she could go out and get 10 new clients every month. I mean, we could all do that, right? Go get 2.5 new clients a week. We could do that. A client every other day. We could do that. But it's tricky. Wouldn't it be easier if we could figure out a way to have those people paying us that average ticket every single month so we didn't have to replace them? That's why I don't want you taking bad money deals. I want you taking good money deals, because I want you working with people long term. I want them to come back over and over again. If it's not monthly, maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's annually, whatever. But I want people to come back. I want them to be residual income for you, because that's how we're going to make the money. Simple as that. Does that make sense? That's what we need to be able to do, guys.
It sure does. And reinventing the wheel every month doesn't cut it.
You know, I do a lot of work with chambers of commerce around the world. And no matter where I am, no matter what country, no matter what city, no matter how big the chamber is, one of the things that chambers typically do is they incentivize their membership professional upside down. What I mean by that is they tell the sales professional, the membership director, the VP marketing, the VP membership, whatever. They tell the membership professional, the salesperson, I'm going to give you a nice healthy commission on any new business you bring in. Now, some of them go a step further and say, not only am I going to give you a nice healthy commission on everything you bring in first year, but I'm going to give you a smaller percentage the next year of whatever returns. And maybe even an even smaller percentage for that third year. But that's about where it ends. And very few chambers are doing all of that. Most are doing you get the big chunk up front, and that's that. But think about this for a second. What we're incentivizing our membership director to do is ass backwards. We're incentivizing churn. We're telling that salesperson, I don't want you to go get long-term members. I want you to bring them in. And then next year, we'll replace them. When they don't stay, when they drop off at the end of the year, we'll replace them. That's how the business, how the membership person gets compensated. They have no vested interest in getting the right people on the bus. They just need to get the bus full of people. And so there's a huge turnover rate first year, huge. Oftentimes in the 50 to 60% range, sometimes even more. So the business isn't growing, the chamber isn't growing, the organization is stagnant. What ends up happening, and I do another math problem with my membership directors to showcase, look, You are working X number of months every year just to replace the work you lost last year. How on earth are you going to grow? How is the organization going to grow if you're spending the first 10 months of the year, 9 months of the year, 11 months of the year, replacing the people that you lost? You've only got a very short window then to build. And how many people are buying chamber memberships in December, November? The numbers just don't support it. Instead, what I think we need to do, and there's a reason I'm telling you all this, I mean, use this in your own business, but instead, we need to give the salesperson a commission for getting their new member to join. And then at the end of the year, when they renew, they should get a bigger commission. And then at the end of that year, when they renew a second time, moving into their third year, they should get a nice big chunk. And maybe just a little touch every year after that. Just a little touch. Doesn't have to be huge. Just a little bit. What is that going to do? That tells our professional salesperson, listen, you can go get bad money deals all day long if you want to, but you need to understand something. If you're not building for retention, if you're not building for repeat customers coming back over and over and over again, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. I don't want you to have to completely revisit your business every single month. I want you to bring people in that are going to stick around forever. And I want you to help the team make them so damn happy that they don't want to leave, that they want to stick around long term. So let's incentivize them the right way. The exact same thing happens in your business, right? You could go out there right now. Kristen needs 10. She could go out there right now and find 10 people. Like, we could do that. We could go out and fairly quickly, fairly easily find 10 people willing to spend $1,000 a month, or I'm sorry, $1,000 one time on her new magazine. Would they renew? Maybe, maybe not. So next month, she has to go out and get 9 more. And then 9 more the month after that, and 9 more the month after that, and then 10 more, then 9 more, then 8 more, then 10 more. And it goes in this visibly out there building, 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 building. But the building's not getting any taller. The structure's not rising. It falls down every year and you have to rebuild it again. Makes zero sense. Instead, spend your time knowing who your audience is. And I'll make the offer one more time. I'll mention it one more time for anybody coming in late or maybe didn't see this on the original part 1, but the offer still stands. If you want to become an expert in marketing, you need to understand your ideal customer profile inside out. You need to know everything about them. Demographics, psychographics, sociographics, needs, wants, fears, buying behaviors, patterns, influencers, all of that stuff. What do they have that they don't want? What do they want that they don't have? All of those things. If you don't know that about your client, then I'm going to offer you my ICP workbook, my ideal customer profile workbook. It's 8 chapters long. It's got 100, I think it's 166 different metrics that you could rate, that you could know about your ideal customer. It shows you some suggestions on where you might be able to find the information or how to gather it. And it tells you how to utilize it. If you're interested, if you really want to become a better marketer, if marketing's not your thing, if you don't care about marketing, if you don't care about lead gen, then don't worry about this. If you're not worried about conversion, then don't worry about this. You don't need it, right? But if you want to be better at marketing, if you want to be better at selling, if you want to close more efficiently, more effectively for higher numbers, I'm going to offer you that workbook at a 50% discount. Instead of $199, I'm going to give it to you for $99. All you have to do is shoot me a private message. All right, the landing page is being built. I mean, you guys are getting sneak peek look here. Okay, but I'm doing it for you because we're talking about it and because I want to give you something that you can work with, something that you can use, that you can take immediately and start improving your business skill set and becoming more efficient. So go to Facebook, go to LinkedIn, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, wherever, and shoot me a direct message. I'm at Jay Handler everywhere you go. Spell out J, J-A-Y, at Jay Handler on all of the social media platforms. Or shoot me an email, jay@coachjhandler.com. Either way, mention to me that you want that ideal customer profile workbook, that ICP workbook, and I will gladly send you the link to purchase it for digital download, $99 and done. How's that? There's my offer to you. That's how I'd like to give back even more today. What else? Are there questions? Are there comments? Are there thoughts, complaints, ideas, suggestions? You name it. These sessions are your sessions. I want you to get value out of them. Good enough for me? If you like what's going on here, if you like the kind of coaching that I do, if this resonates with you, I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. Number one, if you're watching on YouTube in particular, go down to the bottom, you know where it is. Hit the subscribe button so that every day when we come back out with our new session, you have access to it, right? Subscribe to the channel. That would be huge. But here are 3 other things that you can do that take no time at all that will, well, they're going to help me. They're going to help me a lot, and I'm going to appreciate the help. I need you to like, comment, and share this video. Guys, doing one or the other, doing 2 or whatever is great. But if you can do all 4 of those things in 30 seconds, subscribe, like, comment, share. That 30 seconds is going to mean a massive amount to me. I want you to share it, whether it's via email or text or social media. Share it wide. If you find value in what we're doing, then by all means, share it with the people that you know can use it. But don't just share it out blindly. Leave a comment before you share it. Put your commentary on the share. Tell them why they should listen. What should they be listening for? What do you think they're going to learn? What kind of value did you get out of it before you share it? Tell them what to be looking for. Because what happens is you are going to get credit for having delivered them something that they find valuable. Simple as that. So it is going to benefit me, but it's also going to benefit you, and it's going to benefit the people that you share it with. Win, win, win. Triple win is the win. That's the one we're looking for. And it's going to take you 45 seconds or less, 30 seconds or less. That said, if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, this guy resonates. I get what he's saying. He's making it so simple. It's so clear now. I never thought about it like that. Man, I'm not as frustrated as I was. He's helping me. If that's the case, I want you to consider scheduling a call with me. Let's talk specifically about your problems, about your issues in your business. What's going on? Where are you doing well? Where are you falling down? What can we do? Just like we did for Linda at the very beginning. What can we do to get your business back on track? Or better than it ever was before? What can we do to 5x, 3x, 2x your business? It can be done. It can be done, and it's not particularly difficult. But if you want, you can go, again, right below in the description, you'll find a link. And that link will take you to my calendar. My treat. Okay? No charge whatsoever. I would be more than happy. In fact, I'd be thrilled to invest 30 minutes of my time in you and your business. At the end of that 30 minutes, you're going to have clarity on the issue that you brought to me. You're going to have some answers. You're going to have some direction. What you're not going to have is a pitch. At the end of 30 minutes, if you decide and I decide that we're a good match and you want to talk about what it might look like for us to work together, okay. We'll take an extra 5 minutes at the end. And we'll talk about either group coaching or one-on-one coaching or the master classes, the recorded content, the whatever. Or maybe coming to see you, maybe coming and visiting your town and working with you and your team on the ground. Whatever it is. But know this, that 30-minute call, one-on-one, you and me talking about your specific problems, your specific challenges, the obstacle you're facing right now, 100% free and 100% dedicated to you and your situation. You will not hear a sales pitch from me until we decide at the end, after that 30 minutes, that we want to talk more about that. I think that's fair. I think that's more than you're going to get from just about anybody else. And while I may not be the most expensive coach that you'd ever find out there, I'm also by far not the cheapest. So while I do have options for everybody, prices for everybody, just understand it's my business. And if I want to work with you and you want to work with me, congratulations, I'm your coach already. We'll figure out the money later. Doesn't matter. Because I'm on a mission. My mission is simple. I'm going to create 1 million jobs. I was homeless in Orlando in 1990, 91. Homeless on the streets in Orlando. And I saw good people in terrible situations. And the one thing that really, truly changed my life, changed my heart, was seeing young kids out on the street. Those of you that are here on the Zoom, you've heard my story, a dozen times, 100 times. You know there's a whole lot more to it than just that. But I'm on a mission to end childhood hunger and homelessness. And the way that I do that is by creating jobs, creating opportunities, giving those folks that need it the opportunity to step up, to take a part-time or a full-time job. We got to create those jobs. And while I know you're not going to hire anybody straight off the streets, when you hire somebody, that means that they're leaving whatever position they're at for a better opportunity with your business, which leaves a slightly lower opportunity available for somebody else to move up into, which leaves a slightly lesser, and on and on and on we go. It's the only time that trickle-down anything actually works. Trickle-down employment. When we create a job, we create 12 opportunities. And that's what I want your help in doing. So if you need help and you never hire me, that's fine. Honestly, I'm okay. I make my money on my one-on-one clients, on my corporate clients. I can help you and not charge you for it for that 30 minutes if that's what it takes. I can help design a program that'll work for your budget regardless of what it is, if I want to work with you. The easiest way to figure that out, though, is to go to the link that's in the discussion here on YouTube down below. You'll see the link. Click it, schedule your 30, and let's talk. Simple as that. And who knows? Maybe the group coaching program is right for you. It's right for Kristen. It's right for Tracy. It's right for Linda. It's right for Lorenzo. Who else was here? Who am I missing? I feel like I'm missing somebody. The other 20 people that are in the academy that aren't here right now. But you can join that community. We'll talk about it. We'll find out if it's right for you, if you're a good fit. With that, we've got about 8 minutes left. I'm going to throw it open to you guys one more time, looking for questions, comments, ideas, thoughts, whatever. And if we don't have any, maybe we'll cut out a few minutes early, but I want to give you guys the opportunity before we shut it down. Going once.
Hey, Jay,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good evening, everybody. I have a question. If you of course, want to answer. Do you plan to use X live video along with Zoom?
No, no. And here's the thing. We were on X. Were. The problem with X, so let me back up. Nikolai knows me from 2 years plus ago. We spent almost 3 years on Clubhouse, and it was a great platform for us. We have anywhere from 150 to 300 to sometimes 400, 500, 600 people come through the space in a couple hours time. When Clubhouse made all the changes that it made it very difficult to get people in the rooms again. And so instead of having 150 to 300 a day, maxing out at 400, 500, 600 people a day, we were getting 10, 20, 30 a day, maxing out at 40, 50 a day. And it was that decrease in audience size and in reach and in frequency that kind of insisted that we make a change. So we left Clubhouse, and our first stop was X. We were there for a couple of weeks. What I found on X, while it's a great platform, the app wouldn't open for me properly. And every single day, it took an extra like 30 minutes to get the room open and to start communicating in the space, which, as you can imagine, kind of hurts the engagement, hurts the consistency level. And yeah, sure, people said, well, Jay, there's solutions to that. Have you uninstalled and reinstalled the program? Yeah, sure have. Have you restored your internet? Have you recycled this? Have you done? Yeah. Have you cleared the cache? Yep, done all that. Some people said, well, just use a different device. That makes a lot of sense, except for the fact that this is my device. This is the one. What am I going to do? I'm going to steal my wife's phone and keep it from her all day long so that I can go on X? I'm going to buy another phone or a tablet that I can utilize to go on X? Nah, didn't make sense for it. And not knowing if even that would work. So we left X as quickly as we got there, and we've been here ever since. We've been on Zoom ever since. We just started this week adding the YouTube live stream, or well, Friday, I guess we started actually. So that's been kind of cool. But yeah, it's a great question, Nikolai, and I appreciate it. The answer is no. I don't see us going back to Twitter, to X, any of that at this point. We may expand to other platforms. I may go back on StreamYard and post live in multiple places instead of just YouTube. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with the way things are going. I'm pretty happy with the way that the system is working. And I think we're going to stay here for a little while. I think we're just going to keep it right like this for a little bit. As it grows, if we feel like we need to add another venue, then we can certainly do that. We can add another stream. But here's the thing. People aren't necessarily watching the live, right? It's a long session to spend, 2 hours on a live video. But if we can take those videos and maybe edit them a little bit, if I can find a video editor that I can trust to do this work, but if we can edit it up so that it's smooth, so that it looks more like a video podcast, then I think at that point, we can share that link everywhere around and not have to duplicate effort, not have to have multiple live streams going. Here's the other problem with the multiple lives. To go back and add in X, for example, would mean that I'd have to have somebody watching X. I'd have to have another person to watch that. I've already got Kristen kind of keeping an eye on YouTube to make sure that we're running, that it's operating properly, that I don't get cut off, that there's, we're answering any questions that might be there in the YouTube stream and so forth. I would have to then ask Tracy or somebody else. Tracy doesn't have time. She wouldn't do it. Couldn't do it. But I have to ask somebody else to monitor the X. And again, more trouble than it was worth for me. So yeah, that's where we're at. But I appreciate the question. Guys, it is almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon here on the East Coast. That means we are just about out of time. First and foremost, I do want to thank you guys. I know that you've got other places you could be, other things you could be doing, but the fact that you dedicate time to listen to this, whether it's live or recorded, means a great deal to me. It means that we're providing value, and that's essential, right? That's huge. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your presence. I hope that you'll do those 4 things that I asked you to do. They're super simple, and altogether they're going to take you 30 seconds. Can I ask you to do 30 seconds worth of work for the 2 hours I've done today? All I need you to do, it's simple. If you're watching YouTube, go down below, hit that little subscribe button, then like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Subscribe, share, like, comment. That's it. 30 seconds max. And remember, when you share the content, any content, not just mine, when you share any content out there, make sure you tell people why you're sharing it. Hey guys, you need to watch this because holy cow, I just got a ton of value out of this. I thought I would gift it to you. Let me just tell you something. And this is just no nonsense. This is just fact. I speak on stages with 50, 500, 5,000 people. And my typical charge is $10,000. And typically, my presentation is no longer than 90 minutes. We're doing 2 hours every single day here. If that's not worth $10,000 worth of value, if you can't see that it's worth $10,000 worth of value, then I would suggest you probably shouldn't be spending your time here, because it would be very difficult to justify spending your time if you weren't getting that kind of value. So put that in the comment. Tell your friends, tell your fans, tell your followers, tell the business owners that you know that I'm giving away $10,000 worth of information, worth of content every single day right here. And I hope you'll join us tomorrow here in the Fight for Your Business Master Sessions. Again, if you need anything from me, reach out. Any platform you choose. If I'm there, I'm at Jay Handler. At JayHandler, just like Chandler without the C. Reach out, let me know how I can help you. Go into the description, book that 30-minute conversation. Let's talk. It's my treat. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better, if nothing else. Even if you don't have a problem you want to talk about, I would love to learn a little bit more about your business and what you do. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can push some people your way. Maybe I can give you the little piece of guidance that helps you get to that next step. And maybe I can't do any of those things, but we have a great conversation and we get to know one another a little bit better. I'm good with it either way. And I'll see you tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. That's New York time for those of you outside of the US, right back here in the Fight for Your Business Mastermind sessions on Zoom. Link is in the profile and on YouTube. Have a great day, guys.